There's a moment right before you sign your first commercial deal where your brain just freezes. Not because of the numbers, but because of everything underneath them. It's something most people won't admit to. Not yields, not checklist, but the actual knot in your stomach. I'm Mish Daniel, and today we're getting into the emotional roller coaster of commercial investing and why the right education and mentorship changes everything.
Welcome back to the Revolve Commercial Podcast. I'm your co-host Samantha Riley and joined by Mish, our expert in commercial real estate as a buyer's agent. And today we're talking about the emotional roller coaster of commercial investing and why having the right education and a mentor by your side changes absolutely everything. So Mish, welcome to today's show. I'm super excited about this.
Thanks, Sam. I'm always excited about anything that is a conversation about commercial real estate. And I was just sharing with you a little bit earlier about my experience of chatting to a group this morning. And, sometimes if I don't take a breath when I'm talking, I forget what I was talking about. I don't know if it happens to you.
Absolutely happens to me.
Yeah, but this is a topic that I kind of feel as if I could speak for the next 6 weeks nonstop about it because it's sort of in my DNA. Um,
Yeah, it's
and
okay if you're listening. We're not going to talk about it for 6 weeks. I will rein Mish in.
thanks, Sam. Means you're doing your job well.
What are we talking about today?
So, commercial real estate's a lot about yields, cash flow. It's 30 pages of due diligence, of checklists. But today we're going to be pulling back that curtain and just talking about the absolute emotional knot in your stomach, about what happens when you're doing something different, and maybe you've done residential investing before, but commercial is a totally different beast. So when you've got to sign that first commercial deal, it's quite overwhelming, and there's a lot of fear. So we're talking about taking that fear out of taking the big ugly gorilla out of the room, basically, and helping you through making sure you're not making mistakes and leaving you with a warm, fuzzy feeling until you get across
Yeah.
that little bit.
I'm guessing that when a client walks through your door and they start talking about a purchase, they're not really thinking in bullet points. What is that raw emotion that's bubbling under the surface?
Well, I think it's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of anxiety with that as well. It's a little bit of a roller coaster. So, when I'm first speaking to a client, I really like to just make them aware of the journey that they are about to embark on. And often I say to my clients, I have a little bit of a laugh and I say to them, I'm probably going to talk you right out of this if I carry on talking the way that I do, because, I want them to know that it's buying commercial real estate is not for sissies. It's quite a serious thing. There's a lot of due diligence, and it's my job to help you across that heavy sense of vulnerability and fear, um, and just hold your hand across that finish line. So your first feeling is excitement, let's say, and it's usually very scary. We try and take that terrifying feeling off your shoulders, and we go through the checklists, we go through the 101 things that you need to know, and we acknowledge the fear and assist you across that bridge, basically.
Yeah, well, when you are in that sort of excitement and that fear, it's actually really difficult to think through things properly. Like I remember the first time I signed my first 7-figure loan with the bank, and this was like 30 years ago at a time where a house was probably worth, 250,000. So to see this seven figures, I can tell you my palms were sweaty. As soon as the bank manager pushed that sheet across I'd walked in excited, exactly like you're saying. As soon as that sheet came across and needed a signature, felt instantly ill. I was starting, like, in my head, I'm starting to think, what am I doing? Should I be pulling out? Like, my brain wasn't rational.
And it's a usual thing. I think it's a very, very normal thing when you're doing something different. It is a big figure. And realistically, a lot of buyers come through that could probably afford properties in a far higher bracket, but they choose to stay in the low end bracket, and that's purely because they want to dip their toe in. And I totally understand it, so which is very human to do. And then what we find is, once they've been through that experience and they start earning the cash flow out of the properties, then they want to do it again. And that's when the excitement, and then you find, and then it moves faster, and it's a far more understandable experience, and we can move through things a lot faster. They understand more of the due diligence, they're asking the right questions, um, and it gets super exciting.
Yeah, totally. I get that. Once they're sort of pushed past that initial hesitation, of like, should I do this or should I not, and they actually find a property, and they hit that due diligence phase, because that's not so fun anymore. It's not as exciting anymore, and I'm imagining that's where the roller coaster gets a little bit bumpy and they start questioning themselves. How does that how does that weigh on what they're going through? That, I've heard you call it like the messy middle of a deal.
Sam, it's a whole psychological journey because let's face it, if you don't understand something, you're gonna feel anxious about it. So what we try and do is we take that anxiety out. So um, in the education, we try and teach you as much as possible, as much as you need to know, consecutively right throughout the deal. But we don't want to bombard you with heaps of data and engineering reports and leases and histories and legalities and all of that. This is just a gentle guidance, that, takes the ticking bomb off the table, let's say. So our first job isn't just looking at properties, it's absorbing the stress and normalizing it, and to make it completely okay. So we go through a whole journey with clients, and initially just taking them through step by step how to look at the property, um, and understanding what looks good for them and what doesn't look good for them. I had a client this very recently this week, whom is quite capable of purchasing a property 5 million plus. However, he wants a property at 1.5 million, and when we looked at one of the properties, he came up with resistance for the wrong reasons. And we need to take that off his plate and make him feel more comfortable about that resistance, So um, they start panicking about things that they don't need to panic about. So yeah, I want to help those clients understand the due diligence, the hidden clauses, and how the process works. So
Yeah, I mean, when you don't know what to expect, I would also imagine that they're afraid about things that maybe aren't even part of the process. Like, do they start almost making stories in their head or start questioning things that don't even need to be questioned?
very different from client to client. And some do start making stories in their heads, and I'm there to listen to the stories and just pacify, and help them understand. And the best way to help somebody understand it is to give them the facts. The best way to make anybody understand is just give them the facts, on how the loans are going to work, how the due diligence works, how the tenant is going to react, what the pros and the cons are, um, and and to take them through the journey of. what they really need to focus on and what to leave outside of the door, you know, to look at a property within um, its merits of why we would be presenting a property like this to a client. So, for instance, you might look at a property, for argument's sake, that is in a brilliant area, a property that's perhaps under rented and that hasn't got a great tenant. Now, I look at that property and I think, wow, there's an awesome opportunity. Man, if you really want to capitalize on the opportunity, this is it. But the buyer on the other side might go, and this is what happened earlier, is they looked at it and they said, no, unstable tenants, don't want to go there. But I'm not going to force you over that line. I'm going to hear what you're saying, and I'll justify and educate you as to why I think it's a great deal. And if you're still feeling uneasy about it, it's not your strategy, you know. So we need to change strategy and go back to what your strategy is.
What I really love about what you just said is you're not just helping people to, I guess, logically understand this is what needs to be done, this is what we need to check off, but you're also expertly trying to get a deal that matches where they're at and what they're going through, and you're just not leaving them in the dark.
Yeah, and hearing what they're needing, hearing what they're wanting, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So this is a completely new experience, um, and you're going to be learning things along the way, and you need to be open-minded to learning it. And that's why I say I just go right back to the facts. It's not a matter of me second guessing them or them second guessing themselves. Our job isn't just buying a building in secret and then going boom, here's the building, and this is what you should take. It's basically we work here as the emotional buffer, as the mentor. Okay. We take the terrifying checklists off their shoulders. We teach them along the way that this is the part of the education and the mentoring that they need to learn in order to get that assuredness that this is how it should go. When issues arise, like aging havoc systems, you don't just hide behind it and sit down. This is where you look at it and you say, okay, well, let's work on this together. How can we deal with this? How can we negotiate it? You know, let's see if we can turn um, lemons into lemonade and turn it into an opportunity and turn it into a workable um, asset that could work. It could be a win-win-win for everybody along the way. So we want to solve the issues, solve the issues by leaning on the facts. And yeah, this is what we're really doing is we're taking real world problems into a masterclass, and it changes the unknown, the monsters, and turns it into a very simple problem. This a very simple, solvable, let's say, outcome.
Yeah, love that. So once you've guided a client through and taught them the process, what does settlement day look like?
Sure. Anxiety and excitement. So I always give the analogy that buying a commercial property for a woman, uh, and you'll relate to this, is like giving birth. It's all fun and excitement in the beginning. Going through the 9 months procedure of morning sickness and going through all the inspections and whatever you have to do. It's hard slog. You have to carry that child, and the hardest part is getting to the labor room, which is getting to settlement, and it's trials and tribulations, and they're looking at all your finances, and they're looking under every single rock, and seriously everything that you've ever owned for the last 20 years, and it's a very personal experience. And then you sign that final piece of paper, and phew, it all goes away. It's gone. And then you look at your bank account, and suddenly you've got rent in your bank account. Yes, it might only be for 10 or 15 days for the remainder of the month, and it's like, wow, I've done this. It's so exciting. It's so exhilarating. And I just love speaking to my tenants for the next 2 or 3 months after that, because now they, oh, not the tenants, sorry, the owners, because now they get the experience of how it works and the property management, and they taking over, cash flows coming in, and happy days. And 9 times out of 10, it's like, "Gee, Mish, I really wanna do this again."
Yeah, it's the dopamine hit, the adrenaline rush.
Yes, yes. So for women, I say it's like giving birth. For men, I say it's like stepping out of an aeroplane uh, for the first time if you're going skydiving, if you've ever done that. You
I
know,
have
that
not.
it's actually something that I have done. And I,
Okay.
and I remember that first feeling when I put my arm out and put my leg out and I got blown back. Um, and it's exhilarating. It's there's so much fear and adrenaline. And once you put your foot out, you cannot get back in, because otherwise your flying coach is just going to push you out the door. So, and once you're out that door and you're floating with your canopy, your parachute above your head, it's just the most exhilarating feeling. Really, it's just amazing. So I always say that buying commercial real estate is very similar to that. Um, and you've got to do that training first. You've got to go through all those trials and tribulations. You've got to do the jumps and learn how to fall and all that stuff. And once you do and you land, all you want to do is get back in that plane and do it again, because it's the
I'll have to
adrenaline.
believe you on that one. I think I'd rather do commercial real estate than skydiving. Why would you jump out of a perfectly good aeroplane?
The exhilaration, Sam. That's what it is.
See, I love flying in the plane. Oh, so if you've been listening to this episode and you are really thinking, I'm actually okay about feeling this excitement and hesitation, and I really do want to sort of get into commercial real estate and replace that fear with confidence. Obviously, Mish is the best person to talk to, but also, Mish, you've got a wealth grow plan that's probably the best place for people to dive into right now if they're interested to take it further. What can you tell us a little bit around what that is?
Look, Sam, it's a couple of questions just to kind of get the reader questioning about whether this is something that they want to do, and it's going to take them to a link to reach out. So if they want to reach out and they want to know more and they want to pick my brain about it, that's basically where the growth plan is going to take them. And it makes you think about what your journey is.
So
You know,
definitely go and grab the wealth, or go and hang on. It's a quiz, like a quiz thing, is it? Sorry, this
it's
is
just a
edited.
short quiz. Yeah, it's a short quiz.
All right.
It's on the website. There's loads of other information, so I can say it's a short quiz, and there's loads of other information on the website. Or you can say that. I don't know what's
Yep.
best.
Yep. All right. So definitely go and do that quiz. It'll give you a really good idea of where to move forward, and reach out and chat with Mish. You shared heaps of information today, Mish, and I think what I really liked about this topic is, I guess, pulling up the rug and really shining a light on what's really going on, because we can talk about all of the logical things, but this is the feelings, this is the kind of things that hold us back or has us, making a mistake that's driven by emotion, I guess. So thanks for sharing it, and thank you for listening. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Revolve Commercial.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for being a great host. Yes, yet again.
Thank you.